Welcome back to the session of the Hindu newspaper analysis for UPSC. Today we will discuss only four issues. The first issue is how do cyclones form and how are they measured? Second issue is what is China's complaint against India at WTO? Third issue is related to status of goal of Paris Agreement. And fourth issue is related to Indus Water Treaty. Let's discuss all the issues in detail. In this lecture, we will discuss how are cyclones formed and how are they measured. Recently, cyclone Montha intensified over Bay of Bengal. Bhai News. The severe cyclonic storm Montha began its landfall in Andhra Pradesh. The storm triggered by heavy rain in the state as well as Odisha. What are cyclones? Cyclones are large-scale air systems characterized by low-pressure centers and rotating winds. They form mainly over warm oceans due to rising moist air, leading to spiraling winds. Cyclones significantly impact weather, causing heavy rainfall, strong winds, and flooding, making them critical phenomena in meteorology and disaster management. Cyclones are classified based on their location and intensity, such as hurricanes in the Atlantic, typhoons in the Pacific, tropical cyclone in the Indian Ocean. Cyclones are characterized into tropical and extratropical types. Tropical cyclone. Tropical cyclones occur in warm regions and bring heavy rainfall, strong winds, and storm surge, often leading to widespread destruction. Extratropical cyclones forming in temperate zone influence weather systems like rain and snowstorms. Naming of cyclones given by a panel of 13 countries under WMO and UNESCAP. The naming of cyclones in the North Indian Ocean are given by a panel of 13 countries under the World Meteorological Organization WMO and United Nations Economic and Social Commission for Asia and the Pacific UNESCAP. These 13 countries are Bangladesh, India, Iran, Oman, Maldives, Myanmar, Pakistan, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Sri Lanka, Thailand, UAE, and Yemen. Cyclone names are chosen to be short, distinctive, and universally known offensive. Each member submit a list of 13 names, creating a rotational naming system. Some cyclone names, such as Fengal, Sakti, proposed by Sri Lanka, and Montha, proposed by Thailand. Cyclones in the Arabian Sea versus Bay of Bengal. Cyclones generated in the Arabian Sea are less frequent than in the Bay of Bengal due to wind pattern, differences in surface temperature, and some geographical factors. Bay of Bengal experiences more favorable conditions for cyclone formation, such as warm water and lower vertical wind shear. Worldwide terminology of tropical cyclone. Number of typhoons occur in the Pacific Ocean and China Sea, affect countries in East and Southeast Asia, including China, Japan, and Philippines. Number of hurricanes generated in the Caribbean Sea and the Atlantic Sea, impact regions like Mexico, the US, and Caribbean Sea. Number three, tornadoes emerge in Guiana lands of West Africa and the southern USA. It characterized by rapidly rotating columns of air extending from thunderstorm. Number 4. Willy Village. This term used in northwestern Australia for tropical cyclones. It causing heavy rainfall and strong winds in the region. World Meteorological Organization WMO. WMO established in 1950. It originated from the International Meteorological Organization IMO of 1873. Its headquarters is in Geneva, Switzerland. WMO function International Cooperation on Weather, Climate, Hydrology and related geophysical sciences. It promotes the exchange of data, information, research and technology among member countries. What are tropical cyclones? Tropical cyclones are powerful and destructive weather systems that form over warm tropical ocean basin where sea surface temperature are about 26.5 degrees Celsius. These storms are characterized by strong winds, heavy precipitation and storm and can cause significant damage to coastal communities and infrastructure. Where tropical cyclones mostly form. Climatologically, tropical cyclones form mainly in the North Atlantic, East, West, and South Pacific and Indian Ocean. The Western Pacific Basin is the most active region for a tropical cyclone and account for about a third of the world's tropical cyclone. The North Indian Basin account for only about 4% of the global total. although it is one of the most vulnerable regions in the world to the effect of such cyclone. How cyclone intensity measured? The Saffir-Simpson hurricane wind scale, introduced in the early 1970s, is the most widely used metric for warning the public about the danger of tropical cyclone. There are five categories on the SS hurricane wind scale: Category 1 to Category 5. Category 5 wind speed exceeding 252 km per hour. What is the relation between global warming and intensity of cyclones? Greenhouse gas emissions lead to global warming. The sharp rise in man-made greenhouse gas emission has led to global warming. The warming can be observed not only at the sea surface but also in the depth of the ocean, which increases the heat content of the ocean and thus frequency of intense tropical cyclone is increasing. As the oceans warm, cyclone also strengthen faster and spend more lifetime over the oceans. In 2023, tropical cyclone Freddy spent 37 days over the oceans, making it the longest lived cyclone ever recorded. As global warming continues unabated, we can expect a tropical cyclone with an intensity of more than Category 5. Due to global warming, there is now a need to upgrade the SS wind scale to measure wind speed between 250 to 309 km per hour and to include an additional Category 6 about 309 km per hour. For every degree of warming, an increase in wind speed of 12% is observed in the strongest cyclone, which corresponds to a 40% increase in the dusty potential. Cyclones are shifting poleward as warm water extends further poleward. Cyclones are shifting poleward. As a result, more storms forming at higher latitudes. Why China filed complaint against India in WTO? Why news? China has filed a complaint with the WTO against India. It alleges that India is providing subsidies as part of production-linked incentive scheme for the development of advanced chemistry cell batteries, for boosting the auto sector, and for facilitating the production of electric vehicles in contravention of WTO law. What is the PLI scheme? India launched the PLI scheme in 2020 to give a fillip to Indian manufacturing. This scheme provides financial incentives based on incremental sale to strategic industries, aims to bolster India's position in global value chain, and integrate medium and small scale industry into the industrial production process through backward linkage. What is China's complaint? China alleges that the 3 PLI scheme provide financial benefit or subsidies to companies operating in India on domestic value addition. For instance, under the PLI scheme for the auto sector, the condition for eligibility to get financial benefit is that there must be a 50% DVA, means domestic value addition. Likewise, condition for the PLI scheme for ACC battery is that the beneficiary must ensure a DVA of 25%. The Chinese argue that the DVA requirement under these PLI scheme incentive companies to use domestic goods rather than imported goods, discriminating against Chinese goods in the Indian market. What is the law on subsidies in WTO? While providing industrial subsidies to boost domestic industry is a sovereign right of states, WTO law ensures that these subsidies are not provided in a manner that jeopardizes the international trade of other countries by resulting in a unfair competition. About World Trade Organization (WTO). WTO is a global multilateral organization established in 1995 for the rule-based trading between the nations of the world. It is a global membership group that manages and promotes free trade. It serves as a forum for government to settle trade disputes and negotiate trade agreements. Aims to help producers of goods and services, exporters and importers conduct their international business smoothly. At present, the WTO consists of 164 members, including European Union, and 23 observer governments like Iraq, Iran, Bhutan, Libya, etc. Evolution of World Trade Organization. WTO came into existence on 1st January 1995. The history of its establishment dates back to 1945. Idea of International Trade Organization. After World War II, Western countries take an idea to create an international trade organization to handle the trade side of the international economic cooperation. It was conceived as the third international institution along with the Bretton Woods institutions and as a specialized agency of the UN. But major countries, as USA, failed to get this treaty ratified in their respective legislation. Thus, this treaty became a dead letter. General Agreement on Trade and Tariff (GATT). An agreement called GATT was signed by 23 countries in Geneva and came into force on January 1, 1948. Its purpose was reducing tariff on merchandise trade. During the period 1948 to 1998, most of the world trade was governed by GATT. Uruguay round of 1986 to 1994. As world trade becoming more and more complex, GATT was not able to deal with it. The Uruguay round of GATT led to the formation of WTO and a new set of agreements. Era of WTO. The WTO regime was signed during the April 1994 ministerial meeting at the Marrakech, Morocco, and hence is known as the Marrakech Agreement. Members of GATT 1947 automatically became the member of WTO and it was also open to other countries. GATT versus WTO. Basis of difference: General Agreement on Trade and Tariff, World Trade Organization. First basis: institutional of foundation. GATT, a series of rules, a multilateral agreement without an institutional foundation and with just an ad hoc secretariat, originating from the attempt to establish an international trade organization in the 1940s. WTO, a permanent institution with its own secretariat. What is the difference on the basis of applicability and disputes settlement system? The difference is given here. India and WTO. India has been member of WGATT since 1948. India was also a party to Uruguay Round and a founding member of WTO. Organizational structure of WTO: Ministerial Conference, General Council, Settlement Body, Trade Policy Review Body, Goods Council, Intellectual Property Council, Services Council. Ministerial Conference, top of the structural organization of the WTO, supreme governing body that makes the final decision on all matters. It is constituted by the representative of all the member countries, who are usually ministers of trade of the respective country. Meets after every 2 years. General Council, highest level decision making body of the WTO, located in Geneva, also acts as the dispute settlement body as well as uh, next Director General DG. Administration of the WTO is conducted by the Secretariat headed by DG. DG is appointed by the Ministerial Conference for a tenure of 4 years. DG is assisted by the four deputy directors from different member countries. Dispute Settlement Body (DSB). The General Council convenes itself as the dispute settlement body to resolve the dispute among WTO members. Appellate Body. Appellate Body was established in 1995. It is a standing body of 7 persons that hear appeals from report issued by panel in the dispute brought by member of the WTO. The seat of the appellate body is in Geneva, Switzerland. WTO Dispute Settlement Mechanism. Trade-related disputes are settled by Dispute Settlement Body, which consists of all the members of the WTO. Process of dispute settlement. First stage: consultation up to 60 days, aimed at settling the trade dispute through conciliation. Second stage: up to 1 year. It consult if consultation failed to settle the dispute, the DSB form a dispute panel. Dispute panel report can be rejected only through consensus among the DSB members. Appeal stage. Dispute panel ruling can be appealed by either side. Each appeal is heard by three members of a permanent seven-member appellate body. Appellate body can uphold, reverse, or modify the dispute panel's ruling. The dispute settlement body has to accept or reject the report of the appellate body. Rejection of its report is only possible by consensus. WTO agreements. Number 1. Agreement on agriculture. Number 2. Agreement on trade in textile and clothing. Number 3. Agreement on trims. Number 4. Agreement on trips. Number 5. General agreement on trade in services. Objective of WTO. Number 1. To set rules for international trade to stimulate economic growth and employment. Number two, to provide a forum for negotiating and monitoring trade liberalization by lowering trade barriers. Number three, to resolve trade dispute and contribute to the peace and stability of the world. Number four, to increase the transparency of decision-making process related to trade. Number five, to cooperate with major international economic institutions involved in Indian global economic management. Number six, to help a developing country by cutting the cost of doing business, giving full benefit from the global trading system. Number seven, to encourage good governance by reducing arbitrariness. Challenges and issues with WTO. Number one, China's state capitalism. Due to size and growth of Chinese economy, the nature of China's economic system has created tensions in the global trading system. The rule book of WTO is inadequate for addressing the challenges posed by the Chinese economy. Number two, plurilateral versus multilateral agreement. The debate has arisen between the developing and developed countries with respect to the nature of trade negotiations under the WTO. Developed countries have been pushing for plurilateral agreements, but developing countries led by India want the continuation of multilateral framework as per special needs and interests of poor and developing countries. Number three, agreement on fishery subsidies. Developed member countries are presently negotiating a multilateral treaty of fishery subsidies, which seek to ban certain forms of fisheries subsidies that contribute to overfishing. Developed countries warned that developing countries like India and China should not get special and differential treatment. But India wants special and differential treatment should be built into the fisheries subsidies agreement. Number four, agreement on e-commerce. The developed country led by USA wants to tackling barriers that prevent cross-border sales and permanently banning custom duties on electronic transmission. India has clearly stated that it is against any binding rule on in e-commerce. Number five, permanent solution to public stock holding. India has been demanding a permanent solution on public stock holding in order to implement a national food security act. Number six, lack of transparency. There is no universally accepted definition of that qualifies as a developing or developed country. Member can self-designate as developing countries to get special and differential treatment, a practice that is often contested. Number seven, defunct dispute settlement body. Dispute settlement body has been lying defunct since last many years due to non-appointment of judges in the appellate body. Suggested reform in WTO. Number one, new set of rules. Modernizing the WTO will require a new set of rules for dealing with e-commerce and digital trade. Number two, uh, tackling Chinese threat. It also need to deal more effectively with China trade policies and practices, including threat arising from industrial subsidies and that state-owned enterprises. Number three, environmental sustainability. Enhancing efforts to align trade policy with environmental sustainability could address climate challenges and rejuvenate the WTO. In this lecture, we will discuss, are we on the track to reach the Paris Agreement goal? Why news? Next conference of parties, COP30, will held in Belém, Brazil in November. Before this, United Nations has released a report that find countries are poised to reduce emissions by only 17% of 2019 level by 2035. It is well below what is required to keep Earth from heating up by 1.5 or even 2 degrees Celsius by the end of the century. To keep temperature below 1.5 degrees Celsius limit, countries must cut emission by 37%, and to keep below 2 degrees Celsius, countries must cut emission by 57% of 2019 level by 2035. This report is based on countries' updated nationally determined contribution (NDCs), which are promised to cut fossil fuel emissions or plant forests to capture carbon dioxide until 2035. Only 64 out of 190 countries have submitted updated NDCs until September. India is among the countries that is here to submit updated NDCs after its last submission in August 2022. What is nationally determined contributions (NDCs)? NDCs are pledges made by all countries to reduce their greenhouse gas emissions and to adapt to the impact of climate change. As per Paris Agreement, each country is required to submit and update their NDCs in every 5 years, outlining their plan to reducing greenhouse gas emissions and adapting to climate change. India's target of last updated NDCs. India last updated its NDC in 2022. Its target were number one, reduce the emission intensity of its GDP by 45% of 2005 level status. As of December 2023, India reported to the United Nations Climate Governing Body that the emission intensity of its GDP had been reduced by 33% between 2005 and 2019. Number two, source half of its electric power capacity for non-fossil fuel sources. Status. This June, India reported installing at least 50% of its power capacity from non-fossil fuel sources. Number three, create a carbon sink of at least 2 billion ton by 2030. What is emission intensity of GDP? Emission intensity of GDP refer to the amount of carbon emitted per unit of GDP and does not mean a reduction in net emission. Issue of fossil CO2 emissions. Global fossil CO2 emissions increased year by year. In 2024, global CO2 emissions were increased by 0.8% compared with 2023. In 2023, it was rise by 1.2% compared with 2022. In 2023, the largest absolute contribution to global fossil CO2 emissions were from China, US, India, and European Union. China was responsible for 31%, US 13%, India 8%, European Union 7%. These four regions account for 59% of global fossil CO2 emissions, while the rest of the world contributed 41%. Global per capita fossil CO2 emissions. The global per capita fossil CO2 emissions in 2023 1.3 ton of carbon per person per year. Per capita fossil CO2 emissions countrywise 3.9 ton in US, 2.3 ton for China, 1.5 ton for the European Union, and 0.6 ton for India. What is the Paris Agreement on Climate Change? A legally binding global agreement under the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, adopted in 2015 during the UNFCCC COP21. It aims to combat climate change and limit global warming to below 2 degrees Celsius above the pre-industrial level, with an ambition to limit warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius. Replace Kyoto Protocol. Paris Agreement replaced the Kyoto Protocol, which was an earlier agreement to deal with climate change. Set out a framework for countries. The Paris Agreement 2015 set out a framework for countries to work together to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, adapt to the impact of climate change, and provide support to developing countries in their efforts to address climate change. NDCs. As per Paris Agreement, each country is required to submit and update their NDCs in every 5 years, outlining their plans for reducing greenhouse gas emissions and adapting to climate change. NDCs are pledges made by all countries to reduce their greenhouse gas emissions and to adapt to the impact of climate change. Several initiatives taken by Indian government to address climate change. Number one, National Action Plan on Climate Change (NAPCC), launched in 2008. The NAPCC identified eight national missions to promote understanding of climate change, adaptation and mitigation, energy efficiency, and natural resource conservation. Number two, State Action Plan on Climate Change (SAPCC). Under the SAPCC, states are required to develop their own action plans. As of 2022, 33 states and union territories have prepared their SAPCC. However, the implementation and monitoring of these plans remain a challenge. Number three, Climate Change Research and Knowledge Network. The government has supported various research initiatives and knowledge network to enhance understanding of climate change impacts and responses. These include the National Network Program on Climate Change Modeling, Aerosol, and Coastal Vulnerability. Number four, International Solar Alliance. It promotes the widespread adoption of solar energy, enhancing global cooperation in renewable energy. Number five, goal of net zero by 2017. India's commitment to achieve net zero emission by 2070 marks a significant step towards absolute emission reductions. Number six, enhance nationally determined contribution, setting ambitious target for reducing emission intensity and increasing renewable energy capacity. Number seven, significant growth in renewable energy capacity. Rapid expansion in solar and wind energy installations contributing to India's international non-fossil fuel energy target. Number eight, Indian emission carbon trading scheme. Establishing a carbon trading scheme to incentivize emission reductions and support sustainable economic growth. Number nine, Coalition for Disaster Resilient Infrastructure. Focus on building resilient infrastructure to withstand climate-induced disasters. Number 10. Green Development Pact under G20 presidency. Integrating green development principles into global economic practices, showcasing India's leadership in sustainable development. Number 11. India is also expected to operationalize the Indian carbon market by 2026, under which 13 major sectors will be given mandatory emission intensity target and can travel their resulting savings via emission reduction certificate. How India can enhance its global negotiations with respect to climate change. Number 1. Hosting international climate summits. India should aim to host a major international climate summit like the United Nations Conference of Parties COP 2028. This would provide a platform to showcase its climate leadership and set ambitious global climate agenda. Number two, advocacy and consensus building. India should start to build a consensus on critical climate issues, proactively engaging in a dialogue, forming alliances, addressing concerns of other nations will help India lead negotiations and drive meaningful outcomes. Number three, promoting equity and climate finance. India should emphasize equity in climate action and finance in international forums, advocating for fair treatment of developing countries and pushing for enhanced climate finance mechanism will strengthen India's position as a leader of the global south. In this lecture, we will discuss about Indus Water Treaty. What is Indus Water Treaty? Indus Water Treaty signed in Karachi in 1960 and mediated by the World Bank. The treaty allocates the usage of six rivers, three to India and three to Pakistan. Pakistan controls the western rivers Indus, Jhelum, Chenab. India controls the eastern river Ravi, Bya, Satluj. The treaty includes a permanent Indus Commission and a three-tier dispute resolution mechanism. Indus Water Treaty history. The history of Indus Water Treaty goes back to the time of India's independence when the boundary line between Pakistan and India was being drawn. The details are mentioned below. Drawing of boundaries. At the time of India's independence, the boundary line between Pakistan and India was drawn across the Indus Basin, leaving Pakistan as a lower riparian. Beginning of conflict. Post-partition, two crucial irrigation head works in Madhopur and Firozpur, which were dependent on Punjab's irrigation canal supplies, were left in the Indian territory, leading to a dispute over water usage. Mediation by World Bank. The negotiations with the International Bank for Reconstruction and Development (IBRD), now World Bank, led the signing of the Indus Water Treaty in 1960. Signing of treaty. The treaty was signed by Muhammad Ayub Khan of Pakistan, Jawaharlal Nehru from India, and W.A.B. Elif of the World Bank. It is effective from April 1, 1960. Indus Water Treaty Map. Indus River originated in Tibet, flow through India, Ladakh, and then into Pakistan. Jhelum and Chenab, they flow through Jammu and Kashmir before entering Pakistan. Satluj, Byas, and Ravi, they flow through northern India and Punjab before entering Pakistan. Indus Water Treaty Legal Framework. Indus Water Treaty is a permanent agreement with no exit clause or enforcement mechanism. Amid rising tensions, India chose to suspend or revoke the treaty. No exit clause in the treaty. Indus Water Treaty does not permit unilateral termination by either India or Pakistan. It is a perpetual agreement with no expiration date. Any member, any amendment or revision require mutual consent between the two nations. Dispute resolution mechanism. Article 9, along with Annexure F and G, outline a three-tiered dispute resolution process. Number one, initial resolution via the Permanent Indus Commission. Number two, escalation to a neutral experts. Number three, final arbitration through a designed code of arbitrators. Indus Water Treaty suspension implications for Pakistan. India has taken a series of strong measures after the Pahalgam terror attack, including suspending the Indus Water Treaty in 1960. The treaty suspension would have serious consequences for Pakistan. Water dependency. Pakistan receives about 80% of Indus water flow, crucial for agriculture, irrigation, and drinking water in Punjab and Sindh. Urban water supply. Major cities like the Lahore, Karachi, and Multan depend directly on these rivers for daily water needs. Agricultural economy. Agriculture supports 68% of the rural population, contribute 23% to GDP, relying on 93% of water for irrigation. Irrigation backbone. The Indus Basin deliver about 154.3 million acre feet of water annually, essential for food security and farming. Economic impact: disruption in water flow can lower crop production, increase food insecurity, and strain rural economies. Existing water crisis: Pakistan already struggles with soil salinity, groundwater depletion, and weak water storage infrastructure. Limited storage. Reservoirs like Tarbela and Mangala together hold only 14.4 million acre feet, just 10% of the annual allocation. Loss of security. Treaty suspension remove guaranteed water supply, worsening water management challenges and national vulnerability. Indus Water Treaty suspension implications for India. Increased control over western rivers. Greater flexibility in the use of water from the Indus, Jhelum, Chenab rivers. Hydropower generation. Potential for increased hydroelectric power generation on these rivers. Flood control and water storage. Ability to undertake flood control measures and mitigate floods in the Kashmir Valley. No restriction on storage in reservoirs on western rivers, particularly the Jhelum. Non-obligation to share flood data. India may stop sharing flood-related data with Pakistan, affecting Pakistan's flood preparedness, particularly during the monsoon season. Suspension of sites visit. India can deny access to Pakistan officials coming to inspect Indian hydro projects, which were earlier mandated under the treaty provision. Limited immediate impact. Short-term impact is minimal because India currently lacks adequate infrastructure to halt or divert river flow effectively. So thanks for watching this video.